Nextcloud has functionality similar to Office 365, Google Drive, or Dropbox, meaning you can share files, you can sync your contacts and calendars, and with the help of Collabora Online, you get a LibreOffice-based Office suite with which you can view or edit all major document, spreadsheet, and presentation file formats directly in your browser. What I'll cover in this course is the technical stuff, so nothing on how to open or edit spreadsheets. I'll cover the deployment of Nextcloud, some basic administrative tasks. I'll then show you how to sync contacts and calendars with CardDAV and CalDAV, which are extensions to the WebDAV protocol, and we'll set up a backup script. Let's add an A record for Nextcloud. For me, hostname will be nextcloud.dodhp.com. IP address will be the public IP of the VPS. Set the TTL and click Save. In terminal, let's create the necessary directories and then open main.yml inside tasks subdirectory. This should already look familiar, so first make sure that the services directory exists, then copy the service in question to that directory, then run the container with the help of Docker Compose, and then add backup script to the root's cron tab. This last section is new. I'm adding a Nextcloud maintenance task to root's cron tab. This will run cron.php script inside the Nextcloud container as www-data user. Without this, you'll get a warning in Nextcloud's admin console. Save the file and open dockercompose.yml inside Nextcloud directory. Service is now Nextcloud. Set up container name, host name, Docker image and image tag. Restart the container unless explicitly stopped. Map a volume to var www.html as noted in their documentation, and make this container a part of the Docker network named web. For all available environment variables, check the Nextcloud page on hub.docker.com, but all I'm setting is the database stuff. Database host, database name, user, and password. These will target the MariaDB server running on the VPS. You can find examples online with MySQL running in another Docker container, defined here in this same Docker Compose file, and while there's nothing wrong with that, it's maybe more interesting from the network perspective to show you that you can use database on the host from inside the container. Then I'm setting logging parameters and finally labels. These first few are the same as with Pi-hole, so first tell traffic to monitor for labels, set Docker network this service will be reachable on, host rule, TLS resolver, entry point, and the port web server inside the container is listening on. Then, instead of just having the IP whitelist middleware, I'm adding redirects and strict transport security header or STS. So I set up the allowed subnet, and in order for CardDAV and CalDAV to work, we have to have this redirect here. As for STS, even though I believe that it will work without setting this header, there will be a warning inside the Nextcloud's admin console. Setting this removes that warning. Save the file and open .env file inside Nextcloud subdirectory. These first four are self-explanatory. Then for database host, I'm using the additional loopback IP of the VPS. For database name, I'll use Nextcloud, and I'll create a new MariaDB user, also called Nextcloud. Let's first create this user. In another terminal, open users.yml inside MariaDB tasks directory, and at the bottom, add sections for the Nextcloud users. Again, using the MySQL user module, you first authenticate to the MariaDB server, you give this user a name and a password, you specify a host from which this user can connect, you configure privileges, in this case all access to the Nextcloud database, you want this user to be present, and finally you disable logging in Ansible playbook. I have separate sections for connecting from different hosts. This local host and this WireGuard subnet are here just to make my life easier, but what will actually be used by the Nextcloud container are these sections here. One host for each Docker subnet we defined in etc docker daemon.json file. This means that whichever IP Nextcloud container gets, MariaDB user named Nextcloud will be able to connect to the MariaDB server because the host this user connects from will be from one of these subnets. Note that we have this placeholder for MariaDB Nextcloud password, but we didn't set it up yet, so let's go and do that now. Save the file, and with virtual environment activated, run the Ansible Vault command. Ansible Vault encrypt string, and this time name will be MariaDB_Nextcloud_password. Press enter, enter your password, press Ctrl D twice to get the hashed output. Copy the output, then open main.yml inside MariaDB defaults directory and paste it here. This time name will be MariaDB and then Nextcloud. Save the file, and now let's open iptables.rules inside security files directory. Let's first add an empty line here to separate WireGuard clients from the rest of the rules. And now we need to allow connection to MariaDB on the host, that's port 3306, from any possible IP a Docker container can get. I'll go down here. So source address is 172.21.234/5/16. Protocol is TCP and destination port is 3306. Save the file, and now we need to run both security and MariaDB roles to apply these changes. Open setup.yml, comment out pi-hole role, uncomment MariaDB and security roles, save this file and run Ansible playbook. Ansible has finished, and if I go to the VPS and run mysql-e, select user, host from mysql.user, I will see that the Nextcloud users were added successfully. We are now back in nextclouds.env file. This user now exists in MariaDB server. We then set notification email, service name traffic will use for this service, IP whitelist subnet, and some variables for the backup script. Save the file and then open backup.sh inside Nextcloud subdirectory. This script is exactly the same as backup script for pi-hole service. They are both deployed in the same way, so we can handle the differences easily using environment variables. You might be asking yourself, why not use the same exact script in some parent directory for all services? And the answer is you could, nothing wrong with that. But this way, if you need to add something special for some particular service, it's just easier. Save the file, open setup.yml, comment out all roles, add new role named Nextcloud, save the file and run Ansible playbook again. Ansible has finished. We can see new entry in traffic's dashboard. And if I go to the nextcloud.dodhp.com, we'll see the initial configuration page. I'll set up username and password and click install. Setup will offer you to install recommended apps, which I will do. After a few moments, installation is done and you can start using Nextcloud.